I just wanted to say a special thank you to the Planning Committee for putting together Watershed Wednesdays, Otsego County Conservation Association. You saw Amy earlier, as well as Troy. He is on the, there she is. Troy is on the panel along with other staff members from the USC, as well as the Choose Clean Water Coalition has helped sponsoring Watershed Wednesdays this year. So thank you to everybody for pulling all of this together. I think there's a lot of great informative sessions that we're gonna have. So without further ado, today our session is on practical pasture planning and action on the farm to optimize happiness. And who better to do that presentation than Troy Bishopp. But I'm going to start out giving a little bit background on who also assisted Troy on the presentation. So John, I'm going to try to get the last name right. Suscovich lives and works on a 52-acre farm and helps manages the Kent Falls Brewery in Western Connecticut. He is the founder of the Farm Marketing Solutions that has produced over 700 educational YouTube videos and 100 podcasts with over 140,000 subscribers. He has designed and written 3 how-to books on pasture poultry along with chicken tractor construction manual. John and Troy's past work together producing farm videos have over 250,000 views to date, and we're going to see one more of those today. As you probably know, and does not need an introduction, is Troy Bishopp. Troy is our grazing management professional who advises farmers throughout the Susquehanna River watershed and beyond. He also practices what he teaches on his family farm, where they custom graze finished beef cattle, and he is also award-winning freelance writer and photographer. Troy and John put together a really great video for us to watch today, but I'm going to kick it to Troy to see if he wants to do some introductions for the presentation and video that we're going to see. So thanks very much, Troy and John, for putting this together for us.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. It will be a snapshot, and hopefully you'll be able to glean some information. I will say that it's mostly John's work because he did all the editing, a ton of work in the field. And so he basically had to take many hours of content and put it into 20 minutes for you all to enjoy. So I'm going to share the screen now, or Amy's going to help me, and we'll get started, and I'll catch you on the backside of 23 minutes and 59 seconds. Enjoy.
Hey there, everybody. My name is John Suscovich, and today we are looking at practical pasture planning to optimize for happiness. We all want to be happy. Might as well have a plan to get there. I can't do all this by myself, so I partnered up with my good friend, my mentor, and maybe a certified crazy person, Troy Bishopp, the Grass Whisperer. But we are also doing this in conjunction with not only myself, Farm Marketing Solutions, Troy, the Grass Whisperer, but the Madison County Soil and Water Conservation District as part of the Upper Susquehanna Coalition Watershed Wednesdays. This is for upstate New York. We're going to look at a grazing system in action and detail out how you can optimize for happiness in order to increase profits and save the world. So, in order to do that, we're going to review the Grass Whisperer's grazing plan. We're going to take a snapshot of his grazing in action. We're going to actually go out with the drone, look at the cows grazing, and see what the fields look like and the effect that cattle have had on that grassland. And then we're going to assess tomorrow's forage, where Troy and I are going to show you how you measure grass, what metrics you take from that, and how you utilize that information to make more money and live a better life. This video only presents a brief overview of Troy's grazing process and how you can use that process to not only better the planet, but improve your bottom line as well. It also introduces the concept of linger grazing. Linger grazing is noticing the small things and how they affect the big things, and then using that information to optimize for happiness. Now, to get things started, we're going to look at Troy's grazing map. It's the first step in your resource base. You're establishing an inventory, and we're going to cut over to Troy right now in the field to look at how this map came together.
The reason that this map looks the way it is because it has wet areas, woods, pastures, and different topography. So how I broke it into these 20 fields
Yeah.
20 land units, 20 paddocks, whatever you want to call it, is because that's the way we've always sort of been farming them.
Yeah.
And they're in smaller bites, so I can easily do calculations on cow numbers and movement and so forth and so on. The other thing that it does is I have 20 fields that I measure for, I do a soil test every 3 years.
Yeah.
So number 20 is always number 20. And that's on the soil test, it's on the grazing chart, it's all standardized.
Now we're going to go from the grazing map to the grazing plan. The grazing map is your inventory of your farm, if you remember, and then the grazing plan is what you do with that inventory.
So now we're going to move on to another very practical exercise for you and me and other farmers, and me as the agency guy, besides being a farmer,
Yeah.
is moving into a grazing plan. You can go and get grazing planning help, and it might be more than this, which is perfectly fine. I've already been at this long time.
I came here because I like the way you do it.
Oh.
And I have a lot going on.
It's not right. It's right for me.
Yeah.
It may not be right for you, but so it's easier here because we only have one class of livestock that's finishing beef.
Okay.
They basically weigh 800 pounds, give or take, when they come here, and when they leave, they are really fat. So they're
goal.
gaining weight.
All right.
And so, coming up with this grazing plan, this little template I have, basically we have animals weigh 800 pounds. They eat 3% of their body weight, which is wrong. They could eat 3%, they could eat 3.5%, 2.5%, 2 3/4, 3 1/10.
But on average,
you
got to start.
That's what I figure.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're going to eat 24 pounds of dry feed per day. Dry feed equivalent, whether eating grass it's so much moisture or a bale of hay, and there's 40 of them. So that gives me a roundabout number of around 1,000 pounds of dry feed equivalent each day that I have to produce from this pasture, or I need to feed it out of the barn, whatever.
Gotcha.
And so then I have my land resource that I say is giving me 3.5 to 4 tons of dry matter equivalent off that land
Per acre?
per
year?
rotation.
Per rotation.
Per year. This is per year. The 1,400 is per rotation.
And we got that by knowing the size of the paddock, measuring the grass,
and what the soil will produce.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be about soil type. Certain soil types because they're loamy, more gravelly, whatever, they produce more. So I don't know what your soil type yours is, but it could be more or less than mine. I just have to basically get in the ballpark. So then I have a schedule residency period, meaning how long they're going to stay in each pasture, each piece. That's what I want. I want to move them every day. And so you have animals that need feed, 1,000 pounds. You have a forage supply that gives you 1,400 pounds, and so there's some math here that basically says I need a half an acre to an acre a day to move for every day that they move.
Yeah.
So there it is. Then there's, in this simplistic plan, there's how many paddocks do I need? Well, it depends. It depends on how many days rest you want to build in. So on my farm, I've got 20, 30, 45, 60, and 90 days rest to consider. In the spring, usually it's a little less. In the fall, summer, it's more.
Because you go through dry periods, the photo period with
stockpile,
the sun.
You have wet, dry, crazy hurricanes. You have
all the things.
Stocking rates. You have, I don't know, petulance.
That's why cows ended up in confinement in barns, is because there's a variability.
Yeah.
What we're doing is embracing nature's change in that variability and building it into the system through increasing organic matter to have more water retention, to sequester that carbon through that grass regrowth, and utilize those tools to get the cows back outside.
Yeah. And make money.
Well, yeah. You make money so that I can go on vacation. If you made money so I go on vacation every day too, but that's a whole different story. Where do we go? We got another page.
So we got the last page. You know,
Okay.
it's only 4 pages.
All right.
But basically, we have the paddock size that we need.
Yeah.
Times the rest period that we want, or
Yeah.
recovery period, and it comes up with the acres that we need to get said
Optimal rotation.
So there's a chart here.
It's 15 acres for 20 days rest, 22 acres for 30 days rest, 32 acres for 45 days rest.
Based on that number of cows and all the things that you've planned in. So, and then at the end, this is all you need. And then at the end here is what you actually have. So this
Okay.
is all great and well. And then here's what you actually have. And so you actually need, here, your paddock sizes are here. You divide it by what you need, and you get up of how many days that are available in these said 20 fields.
Okay.
That's where this grazing chart basically comes alive, is now, after all that, the maps and the planning and the inventory and the goal setting and the hugging and all that stuff, now you have to implement.
So if Troy just showed us his grazing plan, which is what we do with our inventory, which was our map, we're going to go on to the grazing chart, which is that plan in action. That's how you get the cows out on the field.
We're here at the mother load with the grazing plan.
We've gone over the map and our resource base.
Yeah.
We've created a grazing plan, and now it's time to implement it with this large piece of paper, this tool, this chart.
You've seen it before in one of our previous videos. You've seen it online, and my name's sort of attached to it. It's a piece of paper that basically has your paddocks, your fields on one side, and it has these squares that basically represent one day, and then at the top there's a date. And so every square is a day. And based on this math, I'll just take paddock number 1. Paddock number 1 is 4 acres, and so it says that we will have about 4 days available. Now I can look at it. So in the early spring, it doesn't have 4 days available because it's early.
Yeah.
Right here, I planned in 2 days, because that's the other part, is to get around this whole farm in 20 days. You can't keep them there for your planned. You've got to move them quicker.
Yeah.
It's growing fast, and you want to get back. Otherwise, you're going to have prairie.
Okay.
So we're in optimization of animal performance, and we're also trying to build a staggered effect of rotation.
Gotcha.
And so you can see, as you can really see, you got 2 days here in early May. In early June, we're up to 3 days. And in 4th of July, I'm up to 4 days, which is what this plan says. So you can see
in your rotations, just paddock 1, what we're saying here, the first rotation is 2, second rotation is 3, third rotation is 4. And you've got it stepped out into starting in paddock 1, the cows go through the farm, and then you start back in paddock 1, and you've got that nice...
It's sort of sequential.
Kind of sequential loop around the farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, this is the basis, but it's not the plan. It's the basis for a plan, but this is the live plan, because down here, if you notice,
like these are the principles that you're following,
yes.
like your kind of like framework.
Yep.
And then your actual plan of how they move is based off of this information, but at some point the cow's got to hit the field.
Yeah.
And this is where they go when they go.
And you're measuring your forage growth, and you're moving quick because you have a goal of get around the farm in 20 days.
Yeah.
So you can't spend too much time there. So I already have all of the next rotation mapped out till Labor Day. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, because we know our inventory, we know what the growth rates are. What we don't know is the future weather, what we do know is we have a good solar panel, we have good soil health, we have good lime. We're going to have a few less cows, and so you build in more recovery time.
You're back to the orchestra.
Yeah, you're kind of like,
And
oh,
bringing up the winds.
yeah, right, and then
Percussion
and
settled
oh,
down.
by the way, we're going on camping trips. So if you pan in here, you'll see that animals will stay in a paddock for this amount, but they will never move. They'll be in that big paddock for 5 days, a weekend, 3 days.
Yeah.
Turn them in, they go, wow, there's a lot of feed here. When you come back on Monday, there's still a lot of feed. Well, that's the object, is to grow so much feed you don't even know what to do with it. Animals, then they optimize their happiness and performance to gain weight. And you optimize your happiness and performance by drinking a few beers at the campsite, or playing in the pool with the kids. And you both come back on Monday and you're super happy.
Both happy, refreshed, and there's a freedom in that where I get told how hard farming is all the time.
Farming is hard.
And I get told, oh, you must be there every single day. But planning for that time off makes it possible to establish your resources so you can leave. And sometimes that resources are people to cover the farm, or sometimes it's growing enough feed to give the cows a couple extra days that they don't want to get out because they got so much to eat. They're happy just standing and doing what they're doing. So now that we're headed out to look at the cows in the field, taking one last look at Troy's grazing map, this is a snapshot in history from Google Maps that anybody can take a screenshot of, print, download, and draw on themselves. I wanted to take live photos, so I brought my drone and I took a snapshot of Troy's farm. Now I've grayed out the areas that are not his property, and then I have in green and full color the areas that are his property. And this right now could look like one big field, but if you overlay Troy's delineations on it, we're going to see that you have his property line here and then the segments of his different fields. Now if we go back in time, you can see there's a lighter color green. We were actually there while his father was doing some trimming for him and cutting the grass behind the cows. Topic for a different video. And our future resource base where the ground is green and lush and tall, and you can notice a definite color difference between where the cows have been and where the cows are going. Now if you overlay our segmentation and even the numbers that go along with it, all these correspond to the grazing plan, the grazing map, and the grazing chart, where Troy plotted out where on his farm the cows were going to be. He numbered his fields, he's been tracking this information over time, and he has a plan for where they're going in the future. Now as a quick aside, every time I rotate animals on my farm, I have chickens, pigs, turkeys, chickens for meat and for eggs. I take a snapshot with my drone of the fields when I make movement, and now I have a time-stamped piece of information that I can print out, and it goes into my historical records for when I made those moves and the effect those moves had on the property themselves. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at our future resource base and see where the cows are going tomorrow and head out to the field with Troy to measure some grass and talk about what our plans are. All right, Troy, you got me kneeling in a pasture, in a paddock right now. And where we've gone in this video so far is that we started in the back of your truck on the tailgate, looking at the map of your property, your grazing plan, which had some simple math equations based off of some kind of conventional knowns for grass and land management, cattle management. And then we took that math and we put it onto a grazing chart, which had a plan. We went up, flew up in the air, saw where the cows had been, where the cows are now, and where we're sitting is where the cows are going tomorrow. Can you tell me a little bit about the recent history of this paddock and what the cows can expect coming in here?
So what I know for my little prop here, my grazing chart, is 31 days ago, this was at 4 inches tall.
Yeah, so you grazed the cows were in here
31 days ago, which was on, whatever it was.
It was long enough for me not to be kneeling in a cow pad right now.
Yeah, they're gone.
And so,
right?
Is
that correct?
I predicted that in 31 days, this pasture would be recovered enough for the cows to gain weight, me to make money, and soil health to be good.
These are all
Okay.
things that we want.
All things that we want. Water quality, reasons, lots of reasons.
Lots of reasons.
And so, but coming in quick, I do a real quick measurement. So I have a foot of grass.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we measured it.
We measured it that we have. There's dots on here to tell us the density, and you indicated when you look down you can't even see a dot. So that's about 300 pounds of dry matter per acre inch. And then we also said, oh, well, we're not going to graze it to the dirt.
We don't want to graze. If we got a foot of forage, we're not grazing that entire foot.
We're going to leave 4 to 5 inches of residual.
Yeah.
And so 12 minus, let's say, 5 is 7 inches of actual grazing.
Yeah.
Times the 300 pounds of dry matter per acre inch.
Yeah.
Gives us 2,100 pounds of dry feed equivalent.
And we needed roughly
1,000 pounds for the herd.
So that gives us 2 days in this paddock. If we
Pretty much. We want to leave that residual.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, on my grazing chart, we have 2 days of 2 days we need to be here.
Yeah.
The other backstory is that we need the next paddock and the next paddock.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. We need the cows in this said rotation, because it's on the chart, that on July 3rd, some animals are going to go home and get bred by the bull. So they're going home to meet Mr. Wonderful. So we need to get them in that corral down there. And so we're gonna have to leapfrog paddocks, and then we're gonna actually come back and with poly fence and kind of re-graze some of this. So we've known that. I've known that for a month. So we basically take some of those flexibility elements, like that's got to happen. It can't not happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna get them down there, and then we're gonna kind of be flexible and whatever, but we're still gonna have plenty of feed.
Gotcha.
And so this is excellent quality. It's gonna again do our animals very well. We're gonna leave some good residual. The next phase in this grazing planning after today is how can we put on a few more days recovery time, because we know it's gonna get generally hotter.
Yeah.
Could rain, could not rain, and so we need a little bit more recovery time. And so most of all these paddocks, we're moving from 30 days up to almost 50 of recovery time. So how we do that? Well, when you lose 15 cows, you have less animals, so you need less of the paddock, so you get rest just from the less cows.
Yeah.
And then if you have all this grass, this like big sward, you can leave more behind. It's actually going to grow back faster
because it's got a bigger
you can waste some
panel.
grass.
Yeah.
There's ways to. Basically, what we're trying to do is plan for success and optimize happiness.
Yeah.
And so, cows happy, soil health happy, me happy,
yeah,
wallet happy. And this is exactly what we planned to happen, and it happened. That's the best part of grazing planning is
that's
getting
semantic.
the plan right, and again through art, science, flexibility, is we come to this point where we have success. That's a plan you want to replicate because it's a plan that works. And that's the reason that we plan the grazing, we implement all these things, is for success. So that's my message for today on Watershed Wednesdays.
Now, Troy and I made this video up as we went along. I only brought minimal equipment. We had no script, no budget, and we just wanted to show a successful grazing plan in action. Grazing your livestock this way allows some flexibility to deal with the inconsistency of Mother Nature, but it also allows for the farmer to have some time off to clear your head and relieve some stress. When you utilize linger grazing, the art of noticing the little things and how they affect the big things, and then utilizing that information to optimize for happiness, it has effects throughout your entire farm ecosystem. The soil is happier because you're measuring it and you're taking care of it. The animals are happier because they are rotating, they have plenty of fresh feed, and they have a well-balanced diet. The farmer is happier because you're making more money, because you're growing more feed and you're using solar power to do that. You're not using money to buy in more feed. And your customers are happier because you're producing a better quality product at, ideally over time, a lower price for everybody, and those are effects that we can all be happy about. One day on Troy's farm will convince you that all of this is completely possible. You just need a little bit of planning and a lot of follow through. Personally, my life has been improved exponentially just by knowing Troy and seeing what he is capable of, and then thinking about how I'm able to apply it to my farm. I hope that this video will bring some new ideas to light that you'll be able to bring home after you've been exposed to these different systems. If you want more information on how you can implement these practices on your farm, you can contact your local ag service provider, Natural Resources Conservation, your conservation district, the Madison County Soil and Water District, the Upper Susquehanna Coalition. If you want some great information, some good articles, and some good reading, and a lot of lightheartedness, you can go to thegrasswhisperer.com, and of course, you can follow along on YouTube or my website with Farm Marketing Solutions. My name is John Suscovich. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I will see you out in the field.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Troy. That was awesome. And the antics were fantastic. There are no written questions in our Q&A, but if anyone had a question they'd like to ask with their microphone, please raise your hand and I can open up your microphone to ask Troy questions directly. No, we don't seem to have too many questions, Troy.
It's okay. So this video is basically a snapshot of your conservation professionals in the field. This is just one aspect of that. These are these grazing plans and getting the management intensive plans on the ground complement the infrastructure that's put on the ground, whether that be fencing, watering systems, or other things. So this is just a snapshot of what grazing specialists generally do. Your local soil and water conservation districts, your NRCS folks in the watershed, we all work together. So grazing, if you look from from the drone footage, you can see there's buffers, there's trees planted, there's wall-to-wall cover on the ground. So when we get these big weather events, what's interesting is when we did the video, it was late June, and then we thought that we needed to plan for dry periods, and then we got 10 inches of rain in July. So life is good. Rain makes grass. We've held all the rain. We haven't flooded here. So our systems have really worked here and a lot of farms. So we're happy for that. And taking a tag from John, we want to optimize for happiness for our planet. And so if I can leave you thinking about optimizing happiness, no matter what that means in your life, it's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Troy. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And I'm just sharing next week's upcoming Watershed Wednesday, which will be at 9:30. It'll be securing USC buffer restoration areas permanently through land trust partnerships. So it should be a very interesting topic, and we'll be excited to see you all 9:30 on August 11th. So I will leave that up, and thank you again for joining us. Again, if there are any questions, you can still pop them into the chat quickly, and we'll make sure that Troy gets them. But we thank you for coming to our first 2021 Watershed Wednesday.
Thank you. Thanks, John. You're awesome.